Yeah, so no, doing really good. I mean, it's been for me, I don't know. I assume this is true for most people, but right now, I think I'm probably having more trouble than I've ever had before, um, balancing the events of the real world with this topic and so forth, because essentially you look at your news feeds, right? And you got all the stuff about this or that or whatever, and I don't even want to touch on the topics because some of them are honestly so upsetting. And then you get to this stuff, and it actually kind of dovetails into what we want to talk about. And that essentially there was this great report done in Politico by it was Brian, right? It was
Brian Bender.
um, Brian Bender, yeah. And look, there's a lot of different ways you can take the article. It's basically, the article is entitled, the UFO briefings on Capitol Hill have begun. Lawmakers are not impressed. The article, it's a good article. I highly recommend everyone look at it. I've always been impressed by Brian Bender's work. But it is a very kind of preemptively negative piece. Now, going on the assumption that none of that was casted by any of the people gathering the data, and that it really was the actual essence of the feeling of the people there, then you start getting into an interesting problem, because essentially you had some of these quotes. I'm trying to find the one I really liked that said it's something like it's clear to us that the agencies, yeah, here we go, agencies need to take this issue much more seriously, one aide said. So it wasn't that they were just bothered by the content and whether they considered it important or not. They seemed to also be bothered by the either the quality or the depth or the volume of the amount of information they were getting this time versus last time. Now, there are some dangers here, right? Because one, as I started with, there's a lot of other crazy stuff going on right now, right? I mean, if you're in the U.S., like, I mean, there's some really scary, and most countries have some pretty crazy stuff, and then you have the global issues, right? So it's very easy to say, well, look, you know what, these Congress people, right? They're not only dealing with all these issues, they're also dealing with the January 6th investigation, and it's pretty hard to prioritize this in light of all that, right? And so it could be that the reaction that Brian Bender is reporting is actually more human and more realistic, right? It also could be someone salting the ground, right? And what I mean by that is that if this report is to come out soon, there would be great advantages to some people, some parties, to essentially start leaking out information saying that reception of it is lackluster, or saying that there's this issue and that issue. Probably not making up anything out of nowhere, but possibly taking small data points and exaggerating them in ways, and doing it to essentially salt the ground, so that when the article does come out, it becomes easier to shoot at it. And the challenge is that all of these are actually, I mean, honestly, it could be all three of them in varied amounts. But it's very, very worth reading, and it's a very, very interesting article.
The one thing that I'm very interested in is, how are the politicians reacting to all of this? Because from what I'm hearing behind the scenes, John, there is a lot of them who are very intrigued to learn about this subject, because they may have thought it was just sci-fi or Hollywood, but are learning that it is very real. There are those who are still quite religious, who are wondering, if the Armageddon is just around the corner, and should we be preparing for that? I mean, and then there's going to be the ones out there that are just laissez-faire and really don't care and think it's a waste of time and money. Where are we sitting with this?
So I think once again it falls on rather human lines, in that essentially the people that you have that are in the committees, that are part of the subgroups that are have purview to other information that we don't, and are getting debate. those people might come out, as we've seen some of the people come out, like Senator, I think it was Warner, I think it was, and a couple of people who, you know, came out and clearly showed the last time that they took this as some kind of grave importance, right? Like there was definitely indication in their voice that there's like, wow, this is kind of heavy, sort of a thing, right? And so that would indicate to me someone who actually is part of a committee and is getting some a briefing. If you have people that are representing districts where there are people there either because of a base or whatever, where you are actually getting a lot of feedback from your voters saying, hey, we want to see something. There's this really annoying call home thing that keeps coming every 6 months, right? That keeps asking you questions about like how to register, right? So, you know, which is all good stuff. I'm just teasing. But the point is it, you know, and so it's, I don't know, to me, it's falling on very human lines, and I think that religious side of it falls into that middle group where they don't have anything really heavy driving them from the legislative side, right? So they don't really have anything to work on, right? Because let's face it, the only thing Congress actually makes is paper, right? Or you could have the people on the other side, which are, you know, the ones talking to their voters, assuming that some of them still do. Please tell me you guys do. And they go out and talk to their voters, and they hear from their voters, and the voters are like, hey, we care about this because, you know, maybe this is they're from San Diego and they know about the Tic Tac, I don't know, whatever, right? Then that, but I think that middle ground that they essentially see an opportunity to jump into the fray. They're not being driven by their dedicated, you know, to the topic voter base. They're not being driven by assignment. And so they're kind of left to wiggle in the wind. And I think that's where you're more likely to see someone approach it with their biases and try to build up a great story beyond how they feel about it because they want to be included in the fray.
Okay. I can understand that, and I can appreciate that. But are they starting to take UFOs more seriously? Are they starting to look at it and look at what we are seeing and what we are going through and saying, we got something here. Yes, we passed a budget for it, but this is a bigger deal than what we originally expected.
So it all depends on where you compare from. I think that it would be pretty safe to say that you could go back in 6-month increments, going all the way back to, you know, maybe some early days where some people got early briefings on like ATIP because of you know, of an oversight or some sort, right? Maybe since then. And you know, I'm sorry, Dave. I forgot what you're asking. Can you repeat what you're asking?
Just in regards to where are they taking this now?
Yeah. Well,
What's,
I mean, I think, you know. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
no, you go ahead.
Well, no. I mean, I think that, you know, where it goes is going to be, you know, really like random. But I mean, essentially, it is the religious people that are going to stir up a lot of mess for them. But there's, you know, the problem is that one, we have absolutely no metrics at all in any way, shape, or form. So there's actually no way to really do any kind of deltas over time or any kind of a sequence or any proper kind of analysis. I think it's very safe to say that if you go back any 6-month increment going all the way back to then, in each increment, people have been taking it more seriously. In each increment, more people have been taking it more seriously. In each increment, more people who used to laugh at it have stopped laughing at it. I think we're reaching a point of the beginnings of kind of that first stage of saturation where there's enough people talking about it comfortably that you start to get internally echoing, replicating waves that then increase the growth of it. But I think the problem is it ultimately they're never going to it's never ever going to be taken as seriously as you personally want it to.
I think that's a fair assessment. I really do. As we got about 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. The fedora wearing Jon Hudson with the Unbiased UFO report.
But may I ask?
Sure.
What would qualify for you? Because I don't think you're unreasonable. I think you're very, very kind of balanced on this topic, and so I think whatever you say is probably somewhat representative of others in this world.
Good
so
question.
That's why I'm asking.
Oh, very, very good question. Solid question. I think what I would like to see is acknowledgement. Okay, acknowledgement from the entire Senate or the entire Congress, even the President of the United States himself. Now, the President, we already know that's a pipe dream. We know that's not going to happen. We already know the Senate Intelligence Committee with Mark Warner, Marco Rubio, Kristen Gillibrand, they have already come out and said, we're dealing with this. They've got the money for it. That's all coming out of last budget. But what I would like to see is I would like to see some of the more naive type of Congress people or legislators come out and say, my goodness, I didn't realize this was happening over American skies or North American skies. And I would like to, put my support in finding out what is going on. Like, I think what we need is more people to have their eyes open in that confirmation.
Yeah, and the problem is, Dave, is that for a lot of people, they come from a culture where that is the same as admitting that they're wrong, and so they will not do it publicly, ever, no matter how realistic it is. Right?
I get you, man. I mean,
I think that's the hard part.
Look what's happening here in Canada. There is nobody talking. MP Larry Maguire comes out and states that there have been UAP sightings and reports over nuclear facilities, and the mainstream media, not a single mainstream media outlet, picked up that story. It's embarrassing.
And it's going to be in stages. It's going to be in stages because we also have abductions at some stage, right? That's going to change the scale, right? So
let's continue this conversation when we return with the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson on the Unbiased UFO report, as Jon comes in a couple times a week to break down all the UFO news for us. A great hot-button topic, courtesy of Brian Bender at Politico.com, that Congress of the United States has just started talking about UFOs. They've gone to school on ufology. I don't think their teachers are very strong, though. We'll be back right after this on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Good discussion tonight.
I agree. Thank you. But maybe we don't want to. No, you don't. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
Yeah. No. I forgot I was going to go with it, but there's just an aspect of it. It'll come back to me later when we're talking about it. But yeah. But yeah. There's just so many interesting questions about this one. So, Dave, have you gotten to the point yet where you could give one of Samantha's talks? I mean, I don't mean from the knowledge, but just from like being able to just repeat everything she said by rote memorization. It's too bad. She's full of a lot of knowledge.
I know people within the community, like not ufology, but within some of my sources who have investigated Samantha. And they have literally stated to me that she is way too far advanced for any type of public discourse with her.
No, to be very honest with you, Dave, and I want to say this carefully because I don't want to insult you or myself actually in practice because of my inclusion, but it's a little odd in a way that she's so close to you.
Why is that odd?
Well, because, not put so gently, you are not an advanced being, right? So it's and if she intimidates other people, which I'm sure she does, the fact that you two have such a good friendship is I would argue that it's in many ways, it's actually a very nice compliment to you, and to her in many ways. But to me, whenever you see a friendship that gets built across significant lines that normally exist, right, where you have two people that come from relatively different walks of life, right, and they cross those boundaries to build a friendship, the reasons behind it are usually very, very interesting.
Sovereign. So they're going to keep Samantha off the limelight by design? No, don't read into that. Don't read into that. That just causes conspiracy. Just right now, they
No, she just scares them. They're like, ooh.
They're trying to figure out how she knows what she knows. Okay. As far as and John, that's a solid question. That's a solid question you asked me. I could say the same thing about Pascal. I have been very, very fortunate since I
agree.
Since my beginning to have people who have
kind of weird
been able to teach me the proper way.
Yeah,
okay.
It is kind of weird. Kind of suspicious. Kind of sus.
Maybe, but I don't know.
Or maybe you're not quite as
or maybe I'm more
sandbagging.
Maybe I'm more advanced and I just don't know it yet because I'm too naive and stupid.
Or you're hiding it because you're laughing at us. Gonna have to think about that. Now, you don't look like a cat, though. Cat people usually look like cat people. I would expect that more of a cat person.
I'm not a cat person.
Yeah. You know, one thing you might know about Samantha that I don't is how much, like, do you have any idea, like, how much her, like, no, I don't, how do I say this? I don't just mean her personality, but what I mean is like her demeanor, like the way she interacts with people, like how far back that goes. Like, was there a significant portion of that in her childhood that was showing up all the time, and that part just grew and developed and became a dominant part of her persona? Or was she a very different person at some point, and there was a dramatic change?
She has been in contact since literally infancy, if you ask her.
So it would be so interesting to go back, and I don't mean this as kind of like an investigative thing. I wouldn't do this without her inclusion. It's to go back and talk to her like high school friends and find out, was she one of those spooky kids, you know?
I don't know.
That you know, or you know, what was she like, you know?
Let's talk about it after the show. We got 10 seconds. Hey, Mark Sanchez, my daughter put your stickers all over her vehicle. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the fedora-wearing Jon Hudson. The Unbiased UFO Report, kicking things off here in the final half hour. John, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. So here we are. We are talking about the fact that in Washington, D.C., the Politico is reporting that UFOs are becoming a hot button topic around there. John, the timing is a little bit weird right now, considering what's going on the planet, with what's going on with inflation, the war, everything that's going on. I mean, is this the right time to try and sneak through UFOs?
No, but honestly, I I I really don't like opportunistic legislature. To me, I want it to be based on real pressure, and to me, that means that you're going to be working on it in the uncomfortable times because it's not going to be scheduled. And to me, that shows how important it is. Now, it does force you to then put it in context, right? I mean, for example, I mean, there was a briefing that came out today about a possible Supreme Court ruling that might come out soon that is going to be a big deal, and like it's going to be very hard to weigh that against this, right? For very good reasons. But to me, the fact that you have this many legislators devoting this much of their time to this topic in light of everything else that's going on shows that it's finally a real topic. It finally actually can hold its own against things like, Ukraine. Not
Okay.
obviously on par, but at least in the same stack, further down.
Is there anything that you have seen through Brian Bender's Politico story that it really caught you off guard?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Actually, the whole thing from the point of view of when um, when Congress people typically put out information, they do it with intent, right? So, like for example, a couple years ago, there was this crazy ad that ran in the Super Bowl for like a Generation Six fighter craft. It was a cool commercial. It was crazy. The whole reason why that commercial ran was because there were people trying to get budget for that, and everyone was telling them to take a hike. Like, we're never going to do this. Sixth generation will not be manned. They created that commercial to create pressure, right? Like that's why they did it. And so the thing is that what I find surprising about this article is that if these legislatures that were interviewed are really feeling this negative about it, why share that information preemptively? Why share that information before the reports come out? What are they hoping to achieve by sharing that information? I'm not talking about Brian Bender's reporting of it. I think that's fantastic, and I thank and applaud Brian Bender for doing that. But what I mean is the people who he talked to. Why were what did they expect the reaction to be to them saying this? Are they hoping that this might cause an uptick and cause more pressure to come, and people just be saying, no, you should be taking this seriously, come on, do this? Or is this a cry out for help in a weird way of saying, hey, we need the people to stand up and say this is important? Or is this a warning to say, hey, look, you guys might think this is really important, but the reality is that this, I mean, like, so what are those premeditative goals that have been set by the people that are giving out that information? And it's not always malicious. It's not always to say that this kind of manipulation is malicious. Sometimes it's just business. I mean, it's just how you manage your press.
Very true. Very true. Are we going to see more of these talks continue over the next week or so?
Oh well, I mean, I have no idea what the schedule is, and there's a good chance that whenever this Supreme Court thing comes out, that a lot of things are going to get put on hold. But my understanding is that they're going on now. I can't imagine they're going to last very long. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I'll try to find out, but I have to imagine 2 weeks is a relatively reasonable amount of time to brief the right number of people. But it's all supposed to be happening now, and keep in mind that the next report is due what, in June? So I mean, we're there. I mean, it's right there.
Well, John, let's move on to the next topic here tonight because it has to do with the value of old reanalyzed photos. What do you got
So
going on here?
So this is I don't know how easy it is for you to show it, but this is a cool photo that got shared out on Twitter the other day, and I apologize. I tried to go back and pull all the information on it, and I wasn't able to get all. I know it was taken down in Argentina, and I know that basically it was taken from satellite, and I know that essentially the guy that posted it basically indicated that that this picture had been out before, but he had recently been able to get his hands on a much higher resolution version of it, and he was releasing it to the public just via Twitter. And I know nothing about this photo. Looking at the photo, wow. It's a wow. It doesn't look very real to me, but honestly, I don't know what a UFO looks like from this angle, so it's kind of hard for me to judge. It's a crazy photo, but the question that I asked along with this photo, because then there were some cool photos that someone we know post. I think it was Wendell Stevens. Some of his stuff got posted somewhere, and so I found myself asking the question, especially now because we have all these new techniques we have where we can do this super resolution stuff, and we can do this, we can do so many more things with old photographs than we could before. My question becomes, is doing any of this worth the effort? Because it's a lot of effort. And the thing is that I wonder, is there any smoking gun that could exist in the past that would be anywhere near as valuable as a one that was found in the present? You know what I'm saying? I mean, would essentially data that comes from the past be so tainted just purely because of its age that it's not going to have the impact, and therefore, from a point of view of where you devote your resources, devoting a bunch of time to get your hands on the highest resolution version of a historically famous photo, or get analysis on it. I find it very interesting, but I'm a geek for that kind of stuff. I don't know how useful it is for people. I was kind of curious how you felt.
Well, for people on radio, what's this photo look like?
Well, basically, what it is it's a satellite photo, and you basically, what you see is about 50% of the photo is it's black and white, and it's a coastline. If based on me personally, I would say that it looks like they're about as high as maybe twice as high as a commercial plane or something. You can't see a whole lot of detail, but you can certainly see a lot of geological structure of the land and so forth. You can see the edge of the coastline, and then there's a large body of water, and then over that body of water in the last section is essentially at a 2/3 angle is a freaking UFO, I mean like a Hollywood UFO. It's a crazy looking silver top, and it's a crazy silver top, like right there. It's right there, and it's in very high resolution. It's pretty nutty.
And where can people find this photo?
Well, I'll repost it. I'll repost it in a second on Twitter. But like I said, to me, I found myself kind of asking, like realizing that, like, if we got this photo today, yeah, it could have an impact, but because of its age, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know exactly how much value it has, but I'll post it in a second so you guys will be able to look at it. It's a cool photo, black and white, but it's nice.
Very cool. And finally tonight, we're going to talk about bees.
Yes, we're going to talk about bees because well, how much time do I have? Because I want to make sure I don't.
You got about 5 minutes.
Perfect. Okay, cool. So what spawned this whole thing was a discussion that I was in earlier, where people were talking about the perceived intelligence of these things, right? And whether they seem intelligent or not. And someone was arguing that the Tic Tac appeared to be dumb, right? Because of what it did. All it was doing was avoiding. And I found this very interesting because my analysis was very different. I detected curiosity, and curiosity denotes intelligence, because that thing was curious, like a calf would be breaking away from the herd to check out something it saw. And so to me, that denotes intelligence. But what this dovetailed into is the fact that there was a recent paper that came out showing that bees can actually tell the difference between even and odd numbers. Okay. more than that, they can actually add and subtract basic math, right? Now, for a lot of people, this is like it's going to be somewhat of a shocking thing. But the truth of the matter is that there's actually an amazing history of the intelligence of a lot of these creatures. There was actually a beautiful DARPA project that was covered by Annie Jacobson, where they took a bunch of bees and they put them in styrofoam, and so that just their heads came out. And they basically subjected them to the chemical scent of explosives. And when they reacted, they gave them sugar. And over the course of several weeks, they trained a large group of bees to detect explosives. And bees are actually, like, bee sensitivity to dogs is as dog sensitivity is to us. Okay, that's the kind of scale we're talking about. These bees were incredibly accurate. Unfortunately, the Army said, take a hike. We have no interest in trusting our lives to bees. But the point I want to make is that we need to be very careful the assumptions we make about what the size and the behavior of these sightings denote. Making any assumptions about what the intelligence is of something based on what its size is or what you perceive the motive of its behaviors are is at best a hypothesis, and we need to tread very, very carefully, because you can pack a lot of intelligence in a very small package.
Are the bees from space? Are they aliens?
You'd have to ask the octopus. Octopi? No. What is multiple? What is? I know that somewhere. It's in my head somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, bees are phenomenal creatures. Absolutely phenomenal, and they're teeny little things. So be careful, right? Just because you got a small little orb, doesn't mean it's not smart,
man. You know what I do? And I think everybody should do this. Follow Dave's rules on this one. Takes every year, every summer, and it's coming up quick. I make a bee pool, drinking pool, and I put it on my patio table. And I will get hundreds of bees drinking out of this on a daily basis. And you know what? You can actually go up and pet them.
Yeah, you can. You really can. You really can. You really, I mean, well, I take that back. I don't know if everyone can, but some people can. That's awesome, Dave. Good for you. And you know what? That woman that I want to get on that can talk to animals, she has water for her bees, and she only refills it when they come into the house and tell her that they need water. How you like that?
Well, you know what? I always make sure that that my bee pool is filled. It's got lots of rocks in there, so they have places to land and they have places to get. Oh yeah, you didn't take me for a bee guy, did you?
I didn't. That's really cool, Dave. That's really cool, and I agree with you. I think everyone should take up your advice. I'm going to.
Yeah, all you do is just take a flat plate, like a dinner plate or something like that, and all you have to do is fill it with water.
Good. Yeah, do a lot of good with a very little amount of effort. Yep. Hey, maybe that's what the aliens are doing to us.
Maybe
they're just giving us some water because we look hungry.
Some of us look hungrier than others. The Fedora Hudson. We'll catch you next time, buddy.